Today I'm going to talk about the Pythagorean theorem and what the Pythagorean theorem is used for. The Pythagorean theorem is used to find either a missing leg or the hypotenuse in a right triangle, and it can only be used in a right triangle. For today, I'm only going to talk about regular right triangles. There are two special right triangles though. One of them which is a 45-45-90 and the other which is a 30-60-90. But I'm not going to get into those today. I'm just informing you that there are two special right triangles. Today we're just going to talk about regular right triangles, which has a 90-degree angle and then two different angles that have measures of whatever they would be if you measured them out or figured them out after having all three sides. So I'm now going to do an example of two different right triangles having different measurements. First one we will say has this leg is 3 and this leg is 5. So for that, the formula of a right triangle is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. This is a and this is b. So what you would do is you would take these and plug these into the formula. You would get 5 squared plus 3 squared equals c squared. 5 squared is 25 and 3 squared is 9, which equals c squared. So this equals 34, and you have to take the square root because you're looking for c and not c squared. So you would get the square root of 34 equals c, and that is what c will equal. It will be the square root of 34. Now, some teachers will allow you to keep the square root of 34, and some will ask you to figure out and use a calculator and take the square root of 34 and take it to the nearest tenth in decimals. But for now, you can just keep it in the square root and leave it that way. For another right triangle, say that you have this is 4 and the hypotenuse is 9. So the hypotenuse equals c, this equals a, and we'll say this is b. So we're looking for b. So if your formula is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, you need to rearrange the formula that you have to solve for b. So in this case, we're going to have b squared equals c squared minus a squared. So b squared is going to equal 9 squared minus 4 squared. So b squared then equals 81 minus 16. You will get you will get 65. Then you take the square root of this, and b squared will then equal, or b, sorry, will then equal the square root of 65. And you would do the same thing if you had the length of b. You would then just plug in c and c squared, and then b and b squared, and rearrange it to solve for a. So if you had b and c, the formula would then look like a squared equals c squared minus b squared, which is pretty much the same formula as this. You can make either leg equal a or b, it doesn't matter, but the hypotenuse for a regular right triangle is always going to be c, because if you have, like this one, if you have 5 and 3 and you're looking for c, C is always going to be what these equal, because the hypotenuse has to equal more than the two legs added together. So if you have 5 plus 3, which is 8, the hypotenuse, which is C must equal greater than 8. Otherwise, if you have 5 and 3 and C, which is your hypotenuse, only equals 8, then you won't have a triangle, because it will be the same length as this. And if it is the same length, then you can't have a triangle, because the triangle will, or the hypotenuse will not be long enough to equal A and B. So that is all for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something.